Congratulations to this man who is about to join us because he has skyrocketed to the top of Hurricanes media. The guy who knows anything Hurricanes related is a man who is going to join us on our guest line, which is brought to you by Toyota of Hollywood. Shop over 2,000 Toyotas on sale at one location, Toyota of Hollywood on 441 between Hollywood and Sheridan, toyotaofhollywood.com. Alex Donno of Locked Canes, and much, much more joining us here. Donno, how the heck are you, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing good. Miami's 4-0, and I get to just relax this weekend and watch a bunch of other teams play college football, which is always nice when you can get a little break.
Isn't that a good week off, though? Because usually you're either paying attention on your phone or looking at the scoreboard in the stadium. Because
Yeah.
in the stadium, do they only show ACC? They go top 25 ACC, right?
It's hard. Like I'm in the press box usually, so I'll have like the scoreboard page open on my computer, but I'm obviously I'm missing like the actual games because I'm trying to pay attention to Miami, and it's tough. And then I try to want to watch like as many condensed games and highlights as I can. But it's nice not only for me to get a week off, Leroy, but I think it's a good time for Miami. I like this bye week. The one that comes again in 2 weeks, I don't like that one. I'd like to have them spread out a little bit. The second one to be a little bit later on in the season. But I think this one comes at a really good time because, Miami's played a couple tough games already, physical games. Florida State is on the other side of this bye week. It gives more time for Miami to prepare for the Gus Malzahn offense that looks really good so far at FSU. So as far as like timing for the first bye week, not just for me and my selfish reasons, I think for the entire team, it's pretty good.
If you had to, the way I look at it, there's a couple of things that are really noticeable about this team. One, the defense was bad because last year, because their star player was hurt and he was playing banged up for most of the year. And I don't think a lot of people realized, I didn't realize how hurt he was until I saw the beginning of this year, right? And then realize, oh, he's that guy, right? But they've added a lot of, power and up front on the defensive line. Offensively, I don't know if they're better, but all we talked about was all of the lost wide receivers. And I would say that the receiving corps is better, more explosive. So that's two areas where you didn't know how the season was going to start. And then they come into this season and you go, wow. So maybe your quarterback is not a Heisman Trophy winner, okay? But guess what? You got a lot of young talent at wide receiver, running back, right? That seems to be better than what you had last year.
Yeah, I mean, I'll agree with you. Like the offense this year, they're not going to put up numbers like Cam Ward did last year. It's that was like a generational thing. How many points and how many yards they put up last year. But I think like the offense can be better in certain ways. And I know you know this better than anybody, Leroy, being a former running back. I think the offense is more balanced this year. And, the offensive line, which is most of the same personnel from last year, but, the guys that they had from last year are, a year older and better. And I think the running game has more potential this year when you can add a guy like Marty Brown to it. And, we've not really even seen Jordan Lyle. At some point, he's going to be back, hopefully next week. Mark Fletcher's been doing an incredible job. So I think having a more balanced offense, it helps out your defense a lot. I think the defense is better anyway, but when your offense is capable, we've seen it already a couple times this year, of when you're playing with a lead and you can go on a 7.5, 8 minute long drive to not only then score points, but to take all that valuable time away from your opponent. And Miami, for the most part, has been dominant in time of possession so far this year. That wasn't their identity last year. And like not having that last year, kind of allowed you to expose your bad defense to make them look even worse than they were. Like when Miami was up, we all remember when they were up 21-0 against Syracuse. And yeah, it was super early in the game when they were up 21-0. And then the offense just couldn't take enough time away from Syracuse's offense to hold on to that lead. So I think they're less likely to run into situations like that this year.
Can we just have Mario Cristobal? Mario Cristobal. He don't have to coach, right? But can he please come build the offensive defensive line so people know like where you start building a football team?
Yeah.
Can he do that for the Dolphins?
I mean, they want
Because
to hire him as a consultant. Yeah.
I don't know why the Dolphins don't understand that every successful team in NFL was built that way.
Yeah.
And they built it outside in.
Yeah, the Dolphins built a track team, and then they're like, oh, yeah, we also need guys to block. I forgot about that, but hey, we got all this speed here.
Donno, Leroy mentioned the wide receiving core, which I think is probably the deepest we've had since, early 2000s for sure. Because I saw like a very underwhelming YouTube video the other day that showed me like the top 5 Hurricanes wide receivers in 2010s, and God bless them, they're great players, but it was like
God bless whoever made a video about that. Like that's
it was like Alan Hearns and Stacey Coley, and I'm like, they're decent players, but like, you look at someone like a Malachi Tony or the catches that CJ Daniels has had, and you're like, wow, these guys are legit. But one thing I want to ask is we haven't really utilized a weapon that I've kind of been waiting on in Elijah Lofton. And I know you recently talked with Larry Bluestein, who had an interesting take on Mr. Lofton. Should I be worried about the lack of production, or is his breakout game right around the corner?
I mean, I think he already had I'm not going to call it a breakout game, but just compared to what he'd done in the previous 3 games, he kind of broke out against Florida, and the entire passing game was not that good against the Gators. But like Lofton had, I think it was 4 catches for 43 yards, and at least 2 or 3 of those were like big first downs that he, when the offense wasn't doing so well, that he helped them convert. So I think it's starting to happen. I have suspected, and again, I'm only speaking for me. This is just my opinion watching the first few games. I kind of wonder if like Lofton has been working his way back from something like a minor injury, because it's a little bit, and he's played and he's been blocking well, but he's been virtually non-existent in the passing game until last week. So I hope we're starting to see it. I think we really need it because, Alex Bauman has not been that great so far. There were a couple moments, the other tight end, there were a couple moments in the Florida game where it's like, does he know that he's an eligible receiver on that play? Like he's not looking and the ball just kind of flies over his head.
That was so strange.
Yeah.
I saw that. He was like blocking, and I'm like, what are you doing? It's so strange.
It's like, this one's not a running play, dude. So I'm sure hopefully they can fix whatever those miscommunications were about. But I really think Lofton is a guy who should play a really important role, because Marcos, it's one of those things where what we've seen on the field for the first 4 games just doesn't match what I've seen in practice. Like in the the limited media viewing periods, Lofton is like, he's always really involved and he's always making plays. And, usually the guys who make plays in practice do it in games. Like that's been the case for Malachi Tony. I mean, Tony was maybe the most consistent receiver in practice, which felt crazy because he just turned 18 like a week ago. He was 17 years old during fall camp. It's like, this guy's really good. Another one like Josh Moore, he kind of broke out. He broke out in the South Florida game, but Josh Moore to me is a guy who like practices consistently better than we've seen through 4 games. So I think we'll see like more of him moving forward. But yeah, as far as like Elijah Lofton, like what the first 4 games doesn't really match what he does in practice. So I think the best is probably yet to come there.
If so, looking forward to next week in that offensive juggernaut. Like they flipped it around ever since they lost their quarterback and since he left or whatever, and they found a way to retool and find an offense that works. If the defensive line doesn't get there from Miami, how are we feeling about the secondary? Because they've never been kind of pressured. They've never been tested to this point, and that was a big question going into the season. And I've always said, you got a good pass rush, the secondary don't have to be great. Right. But there's going to come a time when you play some of those teams that probably throw a lot of different things at you that you're going to have to provide some resistance in the secondary. How are we feeling about if that is next week?
Yeah, that's a question I don't have a great answer for, but I'll try my best because you characterized it right that like four games in, they haven't been like tested so much in the back end that I feel like and like the numbers have been great. Like in terms of
Right.
the yardage Miami's been giving up and the points they've been giving up, like you can say the defense has done an A+ job, but like you said, so much of it has been the pass rush, just setting the tone for the rest of it. And I think you're going to get tested one way or another by Tommy Castellanos because he's a threat to run the football. So Miami's going to want to try to, force him to be more of a pocket passer. He's had a lot of success throwing deep balls. Like I haven't seen as much of the intermediate stuff from Florida State, but he's hit some deep plays.
Mm-hmm.
And Florida State has some really good receivers. Like in one of their most dangerous players, Mekhi Danzy, is one of the fastest players in college football. He's also their leading rusher so far, so they're going to try to get him involved in the running game as well. And Squirrel White, who'd been injured, but I think he's healthy now, and Deuce Robinson. So like Florida State has some players that can test Miami's defensive backs downfield now. But Leroy, to answer the question as best as I can, I have every reason to feel like the defensive backs are a lot better than they were collectively last year. One guy who I was thinking about this the other day, I haven't really said his name or heard his name a whole lot because quarterbacks just aren't throwing in his direction, is Xavier Lucas, the transfer cornerback from Wisconsin. Like, they're just not throwing at him. And I would assume he's been really good in coverage as part of the reason why. OJ Frederick has done a good job. I think the safeties have done a good job, especially Jacoby Thomas, who, more so is a hitter and a run stopper. I think he can cover as well, but he's a really good player in run support, had a sack last week, and Zechariah Poyser's done a pretty good job at safety. So, I mean, I think the secondary is a lot better than last year, but, to your point, they haven't just consistently been tested a whole lot because the pass rush has been so dominant that it's just not been an issue yet.
I got to tell you, that is probably one of the most impressive things is that those two outside guys, you very rarely find two guys like that. Usually, even in Michigan's case, they had two inside guys, right? And Graham and Grant, right? They had two inside guys, not outside guys. And but the way they control the game all over the field, I've never seen a DN or rush in cover so much ground on the football field built like he is. That's been the most impressive thing for me.
Yeah, and I spoke with Dalton Wasserman from Pro Football Focus yesterday. We talked a lot about Reuben Bain, and like he reminded me that not only is Bain right now the highest graded player in the entire country by PFF's metrics, but like his run stopping grades are like as good as his pass rushing grades so far. So he's a multi-tooled weapon on your defensive line, that he also, he can stop runs like a top defensive tackle. He can rush the passer like a top edge rusher. So that's something else that stands out about him. And then, of course, the other guy is Akeem Meador, who is like, he's having a superb season. And I think he's the 7th graded pass rusher in the country, which is, out of the entire country, it's pretty darn high. And it's like, if he was playing on any other team where he's not sharing the spotlight with Reuben Bain, he would probably get talked about a lot more than he is. And for Bain to have a guy like Meador on the other side, you can't like exclusively double team Bain all game. Otherwise, Meador is going to hurt you. So the two of those guys make each other better.
Is like on Sunday, this is a weird thing for me because he's not necessarily a defensive end, and he's a little big to play linebacker. Like, where do you think, like, they just make him a linebacker and do a lot of things like they do with rush ends now?
Who, Meador?
No.
Bain?
Bain. I mean, 6'3", 275. He's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I haven't really thought that far ahead with him, but I assume that they expect a team to have a clear idea of how to use him, because he's, it's early in the season, but he keeps showing up like as a top pick or a top 3 pick in like all the NFL mock drafts. So I think he's most comfortable playing on the end. So it probably would end up him getting into the right defensive scheme, I guess.
Right. All right. I was just
No.
curious because he's
Yeah.
like he's one of those guys that he might be too big, but he plays all over the field. So he might be too big to play linebacker, too small to play DN.
I think he's definitely too big to play linebacker. So I mean, I think we could probably agree on that. But yeah, because he dropped weight from last year, but he's still around 270, 275. And that was because he thought he played too heavy last year, around 290 plus. So he dropped weight to get faster.
Okay.
Donno, I know you are the Canes guy, but I would hate if I didn't ask your opinion on the breaking news today out of Sunrise.
Oh no, yeah.
Barkov,
awful.
Out for the season. How will this affect the team? And do you have any early favorites on who you think the Panthers will pursue in order to attempt to replace their captain?
To the second end of that question, I have no clue. But as far
Connor
as like
McDavid.
how, I mean, come on down. You can make that work. You can make that work. But yeah, I mean, just on the surface, like, with a healthy Barkov, obviously, I would consider the Panthers the odds-on favorite to three-peat as champs. But he's such an important part of that. Like, I think they're still really good even without Barkey. You know, obviously dependent on who they're able to acquire, you know, to fill that role, with him now reportedly being out for the season, Barkov. But I mean, I can't expect them to three-peat now without Barkey. I think they're still a playoff team. I think it's still a team that has shown in recent years. Now they've usually had the fortune of like having their team pretty much, not completely, but mostly healthy for the playoff runs, but still in the regular season, they've been able to grind out big games even when they've had guys injured in the spring. So I still think this team's going to make the playoffs and have an opportunity, but it's hard for me to say that they're going to win another Stanley Cup without Barkov. So it's devastating. It is devastating to see that news today. And I feel bad because I was just talking with a friend of mine the other day who loves the Panthers, and basically saying that, like, you know, I think he said it, not me. So he's the mush that, like, the only thing that can get in this team's way is like a badly timed, like, critical injury. And then like the next day, here we are. So it's awful.
What's his name? Who said that?
It was actually.
I'm gonna break his legs, Donno.
We need to have some
I'm gonna
talk.
break his legs.
I don't want to say, because it's
it's fair.
I don't want to make public anger go out to this person.
You're a man of honor, Donno.
Right. I almost said it.
We're going through your friend list.
I don't want to. Yeah.
You hear that, Roy Bellamy? No, okay.
Roy.
Well, Donno, I want to say thank you for joining us. I feel bad. Every time, Donno is a very busy man. I see him on all platforms, but every time I'm hosting last second, I'm always like, Donno, can you join us today by any chance? And he's like, yeah.
I make myself seem like I'm busier than I really am.
That's the whole point. That's how you got to do it.
Yeah.
That's how you get paid.
Yeah,
like if you tell somebody I got nothing to do, they
Right.
offer you one amount. If you say, let me see if I can squeeze you in, they're willing to offer more.
Yeah, like when Marcos texted me, seeing if I could come on today, he prefaced it by saying, like, I know you're super busy, and like I didn't want to write back like, yeah, I'm all clear. So I'm like, I've got like an 8-minute window where I'm free. Like, I made it seem like I was super busy, but not as busy as I seem.
Could maybe squeeze you in for a good 8 minutes, but
8
don't
minutes,
go to 9.
Donno, before we let you go, I want to ask. I know, you know, you becoming a parent was something that was happened, you know, on air. We've been following your cycle. About how old is your son now, if I'm not mistaken? 7. Okay, so it's probably still not into this stuff. But what I like to do every time I host a show is introduce them to new words that the kids are using, slang that the kids are using. So I want to get your opinion on some of these words here to see if maybe you're familiar with this term. Are you familiar with the term "get sendy"?
I don't think I've ever heard that before.
Wait.
Yeah.
You look at his face.
He had the loading.
All right.
It was, if he was a computer, it'd be like loading.
Get
Okay, we didn't know
You're
either.
familiar with shotgunning a beer, correct?
Oh yeah, I mean, I used to do it.
Well, that's full send. That's what they say. Now, apparently, kids are getting sendy with homework and sandwiches, and they're doing the same thing, but with sandwiches and inanimate objects. It's great.
Really?
I got two more for you. The acronym, this is great. SYBAU. SYBAU. Figgy has it. SYBAU. No, okay.
I don't. If you gave me like 2 hours, I couldn't figure that out. Like,
if a Knowles fan is in your face next week, you just tell them SYBAU, and that stands for shut your bleep bleep up. Okay. So, and if your son is saying that to you, it is not a good thing. I want you to know that. Want you to know that.
So that's what he's been saying to me all these years.
That's what he's been saying. Now, I got two more for you. This right here, clock it. You ever heard of this one? Clock it.
Maybe I don't think I'm gonna say no. That one's a maybe, but I'll say no.
Sometimes you're talking Canes, Donno, and I'm just like, preach. It's essentially like you ever been to or seen a poetry slam where they're snapping after the poem? You know, it's kind of equivalent to that. You never heard of poetry thing? They don't clap, they snap.
Does Donno look like does
Like
Mr. Payne's look like he been going to watch at a jazz place, watching some listening to some a poem
with some wine.
He's a poet.
With some wine.
My boy's a poet. He wants to know.
He just told you he shotgun beers.
I did, yeah.
Yeah,
well, I shotgun a beer like 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
All right, now this last one here, Donald. You ever heard of "Start Digging in Your Butt, Twin"?
I can't say I have.
No, well, listen. These are things that the kids are saying, so you're going to be hearing it, Donald.
What's the context for that one?
No context, sir. No context. For example, I can use it and it can be a joke, or I can say the Dolphins really need to get tougher up front and really get that 1 yard conversion, and maybe they need to start digging in their butt, Twin. And potentially it makes sense, but I don't even think it makes sense then. I just wanted to see if potentially maybe you're up to date with the latest slang, Donno, but I'm glad I've been able to bring you up to date.
Use it for your next podcast.
I'm going to write all these down.
Don't worry.
We did.
Wait.
I'll send you my notes.
Yeah, she took notes. We're playing a game. She's taking notes.
Well, Donald, I appreciate you joining us.
You know what you got to do, Jennifer? You got to give us, say it in Cuban.
Ooh, like
not Spanish.
That's dangerous.
Cuban. No, it's different. It's a different kind of Spanish. Well, thank you, Donno. I appreciate you joining us. When we come back, we will tell you who or what is dead to us. Donno, have a great weekend, buddy.
Thank you so much for having me. See y'all later.
Take care.